Minister, thank you for coming in here today to take the bill. I know in your own area as well, and certainly predominantly in the East Coast, that pyrite is a problem that's affecting thousands of homeowners. Can I firstly start on a positive that on the basis that there has been a lot of focus brought on this problem that affects, as I said, in my view, well more than the Pyrite panel have actually captured. I think the figure that they captured is short of 10,000 dwellings. We believe from our research it could be anything up to 70,000, but I think all of us agree it is a major problem and a major problem that needs a political solution. To talk just firstly on the bill and the bill that's proposed, one of the recommendations from the Pyrite panel was, in their report of July, was an extension of the statute of limitations. We'd actually prepared this bill in advance of that report coming out. There is a grey area. This is not the solution to the problem, and I want to be clear on that. This is just one small part of the jigsaw of what needs to be done. That from the date of knowledge as it currently stands, that a homeowner, should they wish to take an action against the builder or the quarries, which is not necessarily, again, the solution, I might add, but there is a grey area that if someone had seen the problem occurring in their house, say in 2006, 2007, that the statute of limitations has run out for many of them. My proposal in the bill that both myself, Senator Averil Power, Senator Thomas Byrne and Senator Dermot Wilson have prepared is that the date that from the time the statute would kick in would be from the date that someone receives an independent, verified, approved pyrite test that shows that there is pyrite prevalent above the safe levels in a dwelling, be that at a house or an apartment. What that will do, in my view, is firstly give government more time, and time is of the essence. The longer that this goes on, the more people that become statute barred. We do have an issue as well with another piece on the statute of limitations with regard to building enforcement, that Fingal County Council, 31 cases they're not proceeding with against builders on the basis that they, again, are statute barred. So this is something that I believe needs to be addressed. I believe that this bill can do that. There are some small changes to this bill that I believe also need to be made, but I think that the purpose of it is to give certainty to homeowners that the law is on their side should they need to go down the route of taking a builder or a quarry to court. Today, Minister, and I have had discussions with your officials in the department, and I understand that there are issues that need to be ironed out with the Department of Justice, that it's not just within the Department of the Environment, but Justice need additional time to look at this bill. So we're not proposing today to put this bill to a vote, but we are saying we will leave it on the order paper and that we will give government a little bit more time, but that I would be saying that should some of the issues not be addressed, that we will reintroduce it, this bill in January. On the broader issue, I would like to welcome here in the public gallery the representatives of the Pyrite Action Group, of the Lusk Village Action Group as well, and other groups from the Dublin and North East region who are here today. Because we have had a substantial report published in July at committee meeting which I attended and asked questions of. And I think it's at this stage now that homeowners need to see some real action. And I just ask you, Minister, is when do your department and the department actually believe that we will have the Pyrite Resolution Board established? And I think that we have missed a number of deadlines up to now. There is a complexity with it, I understand. But as you will know, this is a progressive problem. It gets worse and worse. So I would like to ask today, have you any update on that? When do you believe that the Resolution Board will be established? Most importantly, has a decision been arrived at between the stakeholders? Minister Hogan gave additional time about a month ago for the stakeholders to come forward with proposed solutions. I think all of us need to know where that is at this moment in time. I visited houses in my own area in North Dublin that I would put to you are actually unsafe to live in. That they're not just with floors being raised, doors not being able to close, but all the underground services, your gas in particular, your electricity, water, sewerage, houses that a very, very small amount have been remediated. As I said earlier on, I reckon through the research that we've done, there could be upwards of 72,000 houses affected. with this problem. And when I say houses, I include apartments in that also. Less than 1,000 have actually been remediated at this stage. What is required, Minister, is an overall political solution. I think the fundamental flaw, if I might say, in the Pyrite panel's report is that they propose the card system. And they propose a system that would bring about the remediation of those only worse affected. Now, anyone who understands the issue with pyrite will understand that the longer it's left untreated, the worse it gets. So you cannot draw a line that says, these we will fix and remediate and no more. Because those houses and apartments that we fixed this year, the ones that are left, all of us know, and the experts will say, will get worse and worse. So we need a commitment and a political solution that all dwellings that are affected by pyrite need to be remediated and a systematic plan be put in place. On top of that, we need a certified testing system, and we need to give assistance to homeowners in relation to funding those tests, be that government fund them outright, not government but the industry and those who have caused this problem, or at the very least that testing be allowed to be deductible against future taxes. Because most people will only know that it's in their estate because some of their neighbours have actually got independent confirmation through a pyrite test. Anyone who has visited a house or apartment that's badly affected by pyrite will know that this is one of the most serious, if not the most serious, housing issue that this government and this Oireachtas is going to have to grapple with. And as I said earlier on, I do welcome the fact, very much so, that there is a focus here. But what the Pyrite Action Group and other groups need, and the homeowners need, is to see a timeline here, to see, well, and the solution itself. Because if we fall short by simply saying that we're going to remediate those worst affected, all we're doing is putting the problem on into the future. Yes, there is a substantial cost in remediation, an average cost of a normal dwelling upwards to €30,000. It is substantial. I would put it to you as well, though, that in areas that I've actually seen this work being carried out, I visited houses where this work is carried out, and it's substantial, specialised work. And that's why we need to know that things like, will the new infill for houses that are going to be fixed, will that be properly tested? Are we going to run with the British standard for pyrite, as opposed to leaving the 1% acceptable level in infill, which we believe is too high and which many experts believe is too high? But before we start moving ahead with fixing all of the houses that are affected, we need to make sure that we've proper standards set down, not only for the new infill that will be used to fix the houses, but the operators, that we know that the people who will be doing this are properly certified, properly approved, and actually have the expertise to do this. You know, the local authorities, I have to say, have been very slow to deal with private houses in this area. Dublin City have dealt with houses themselves that are affected with their own housing stock, as some other local authorities have done. But we have now seen issues that this is moving beyond the East Coast. There are reports of cases in Mayo and as far away as County Clare as well. So also that this is not going to be just a housing issue. There are schools that are potentially affected. There are some of our major infrastructure potentially affected as well. So this issue needs to be dealt with and dealt with. We've missed 4 deadlines at this stage. So any additional information, Minister, you can give us this morning with regard to tight timelines for when the resolution board will be set up. Most importantly, when are the proposed solutions going to be published? The solutions that Minister Hogan asked of the stakeholders to come up with. But fundamentally, if those solutions do not include a full remediation of all dwellings affected by pyrite, this will only be a half a solution, and we'll be putting off the problem into the future. Specifically with regard to the statute of limitations and the bill that we have put forward here today, I do believe that that will go some way, some small way, of removing a legal grey area with regard to the date of knowledge. Many people put down the initial signs of pyrite down to settling, down to plastering cracks, and it was only as things got worse that they realised, and the prevalence of pyrite in their areas, that they had a real fundamental structural problem with their house. Most of the homeowners, I might add, are people who would have bought from 2003, 2004 onwards, who, a lot of these people who are in negative equity now, and see really no value in their house at the moment until we can have the houses fixed, but a proper recertification as well. And I do think government, and all governments, this one and the previous one by the way, need to look very closely as to how insurers such as Homebond have not dealt with this problem, and in my belief have simply just washed their hands of it. Anyone who buys a house, and particularly a first-time buyer, when they pay the money for their bond, they believe, and rightly so, that that is to protect and insure against structural deficits in the house. And for Homebond to have actually walked away from this effectively, and I would ask you, Minister, most earnestly, because I know that you're very familiar with this issue yourself, is that we should continue to pursue the insurers such as Homebond who have not stepped up to the plate here. I have examples where Homebond have actually paid for remediation to be done in houses that are owned by banks, but they have not paid for houses that are owned by individuals and mortgagees who are paying their mortgages. You know, the state should not be left alone in carrying the cost for this. But at the end of the day, unless there's an overall political solution, my own personal belief is that the Department of the Environment, being the main body that oversees the local authorities are responsible for building control, and if you look into the regulations that there, and also EU regulations on building control, I believe unless the state comes forward with a proper overall solution, that the state itself will be liable for the cost of the remediation. Now, the insurers, and people have paid insurance, should be paying up for this, and they've decided simply not to. And I would love to know if there's any further updates, particularly on Homebond. I know Premier have dealt with this in a different manner, to give credit where that is due, in most cases that I have dealt with. But I would put it in the North Dublin area, Minister, and that's why I want to just get back to the amount of houses and apartments that we feel are affected, as per the Pyrite panel. In my own area, I would know of at least minimum 4,000 to 5,000 dwellings that are affected, minimum, in the Dublin North area. Now, the Pyrite panel then says that the figure is under 10,000. It's not correct. It's more than that. I think that needs to be looked at again. But really, I think the purpose of today, as I said, I'm not going to be pushing this bill to a vote. I do appreciate that your department and Justice have looked at this in detail, and I do appreciate that Justice need to look at this some bit further. But I will be leaving it on the order paper for January. I'll leave it on the order paper for January to give government a small bit more time to come back with some real timelines and real solutions. But I would ask you earnestly, Minister, to bring back to Minister Hogan that our absolute firm belief that unless the pyrite issue is dealt with for all dwellings that are affected by pyrite, it will only be a half or a quarter of a solution. Because those worst affected houses that need to be done now, I agree, I've been in them. I've been in them where you can't walk on the floors, where you have the floors are inverted, tiles are pushed up, sinks don't work, toilets don't work. Underground services such as gas in particular, I think there is a real danger. Yes, we need to prioritise those worst affected to be done first, but we cannot close the door on all the other dwellings that are affected that will get progressively worse, and that the cost of fixing those dwellings will become even more expensive unless we tackle the problem in a systematic way. So, to finalise, Minister, again, to thank you for being here today. I look forward with interest to your own comments on this. But, you know, I've covered the issue with regard to dealing with the problem. Testing is crucially important in relation to how we can assist in the funding for people to get their houses and apartments tested. And standards are the most important. We have seen bad practice in the building area in a lot of estates, as you will well know, and as I know, over the last 5-10 years. The last thing we need is unqualified operators coming in, fixing houses and not doing a proper job. And we need to look at particularly with the NSAI, to bring forward very quickly, and I know work has been done on this, but testing standards as to what's appropriate, and also ensuring that the people who will fix these houses you know, are properly qualified to do so. And I'll finish on this. I think that one thing that worried me about the Pyrite panel report was a a very clear inference towards us talking to the banks, effectively, the people who lent the original mortgages, to try to see if more money can be brought out from banks by way of a loan from the homeowner to fix their own house. Let's remember, in most of these instances, there won't be a value on these properties, that these people's mortgages will be far more than they would be able to get for their house on the market value. To ask individuals and homeowners who bought in good faith, who bought houses that were certified by local authorities, who took out insurance with people like Home Bond, who did everything right, to say that they should go to their financial institution and that a separate fund should be set up, that a house owner goes and borrows another 30,000 on top to fix a problem that was not of their making, is something that certainly is not acceptable to myself. So thank you once again for being here this evening. I look forward to the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.